Welcome to the Shut Up and Work podcast. I am your wonderful host, the coach, and right along with me is my new co-host. It's the one and only Lady G. Lady G, what's going on?
What's going on, Coach? How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great for what's today? Tuesday.
Oh yeah, you have me second guessing. Wait, today's Tuesday. Yeah, we're
I
good.
know. All right. So we're going into round two, and round two of this discussion. The last video, check it out. We kind of discussed if DEI, does it help Black people in the workplace? And we kind of had our debate on that. Now we're going to go into what I like to call the hierarchy, the racial hierarchy in hiring, and what that means for us as Black people out there. So without further hesitation, let's jump right into it. So I know Dr. Claude Anderson, he wrote a book in his Powernomics and also Black Labor, White Wealth. And, you know, when you first read things like this about, you know, the hierarchy, how things go racially, at first you kind of like, man, I don't believe it. But then you start seeing it out on the job. And just real quick note, like I said in the last episode, I just want everybody out there that see this video, you're going to see me looking off because the camera is this way and the screen is right here where I can see Lady G. So if you see me looking off, it's because I'm trying to see Lady G, pay attention to what she's saying, but the camera is right here. So you're going to see me going back and forth. So don't think I got some problem or something. All right. But anyway, back to what I was saying. So he stated that, you know, in the racial hierarchy, of course, we all know, coming from America, we all know, you know, it's going to be white man on top, now white lady, and then usually after them, it'll be like a person of a Asian persuasion, you know, whether it's Far East Asia or South Asia that's in. And then after them, it's going to be someone maybe south of the border, you know, of the Latino community. And then it's going to be Black woman, Black man at the bottom. Now, that's how I've seen it right before I left working for the government for 21 years. And especially in the area that we live in, Lady G, I didn't hardly see, okay, besides my boss who got the job on default because no one else was qualified and they couldn't fly somebody in to take his position. And I want to say there was a Black person in charge of the housing. Mm-hmm. Other than that, all the other departments here, the sections here were all either up on that racial hierarchy. There was no other Black people in charge of anything. Mm-hmm. Now, maybe because you've been on the private side, maybe you saw something different, but go ahead, fill in and what you think.
I was going to say, like, you know, likewise, for the jobs that I've had outside the military, you know, a lot of them were white women or white men or whatever that was in charge. I mean, we may have had like some Black men or Black women in charge, but it wasn't like super high up in a sense. And I don't even remember if I seen maybe more than two of the, you know, of Black people or somebody in charge that was Black that was in any of the companies that I've dealt with. You know, I know they've had some people up there, but when you think about like who's at the top, like CEO, and then below him, below or her, and so forth. I don't know. I don't want to say it's rare because there are people out there who are CEOs or, you know, of a company and they are Black. But in my experience in the private sector, it's like I haven't seen as many that were like in charge, if you know what I mean. So.
Yeah, and the same way, on the government side is, as I just stated. Okay, so the last department I was in safety inspection, and when I went into that department at the beginning of 2015, January 2015, the supervisor was an elderly white lady, and she was nice. She was a good supervisor. She knew how to manage. She knew how to keep things going and flowing. So didn't have no problem. And when she retired around, what was it, about 3 years, almost 3 years later, she had to retire because, the government has this thing once you get to a certain age. And she was well past that age, not trying to throw a diss, but she was. She was like my mom's age. And I was like, damn, are you going to retire? But anyway, what they basically did was, and it's kind of like what we talked about in the last episode. The gentleman that was let's say, had the second highest ranking after her, the most time is what I mean. He was black. He was a retired, I believe, E8, E9 out of the Army. So he had a good career in the Army. And as I said, he had been working as a civil servant in safety for like 20 years at the time. So he had the most experience, most qualifications, most stuff on paper. And they just shooed him in. But before he got shooed in, he had to go through the test. So you hear a bunch of these Hollywood entertainers and stuff like that. Like, hey, before I got this acting deal, they had to be. And I ain't trying to go in the gutter, but they had to be, let's just say, touched. Let's just put it that way. Let's use that. And he basically, because you've been in the military also, he had to be touched. He was screened. I'll put it this way. He was highly screened and was highly told that, hey, you get this job, you better not go trying to make things better or try to make things a certain way. If you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to be politically correct because I'm still learning this YouTube algorithm thing. So I don't want to just wild out and just go free. Maybe in the future I could get a little more freedom as this thing grows and say a little more things that I want to say. But anyway, so I remember the hiring process. Like, he got the job, but it was like 3 months before he actually was introduced and announced to our region that he was the new safety chief. And so, like I said a while ago, the reason for that long time is because they were trying to make sure and screen him that he was going to be the yes man. He was going to be, yes, sir, boss. Eyes do, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. If Dunn is doing something wrong, I'm going to give him 50 lashes, boss. I'm going to whip him. That type of thing is where I'm going at.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. Because I haven't experienced that personally, but to know that there are people out there who have been put into positions where they've it's cut and dry. Like, okay, this is what you're here for. You're not here to improve anything. You're not here to bring your people on or anything like that. Or you're not here, here to advance anybody like that. But it's unfortunate because I know there are people, companies out there, like there are people in leadership that are like that. And it's unfortunate because we would expect, people to, no matter what their race is, if they're qualified, if they have experience, you want them to what's the word I'm looking for, to upgrade it,
to upgrade, make things better, improve processes. If they got ideas, that's going to help because at the end of the day, it's not going to be that so much that individual or that individual department. It's going to be for example, the whole Army Corps of Engineers or the whole IT
Right.
department nationwide for whatever company you're working for,
Mhm.
as you said. But it's that fear of, well, we don't want that individual to take the credit because of their color of their skin. We want John here to take the credit.
Mhm.
Or as I said earlier in the previous episode, if credit is going to be given, it's going to be given to the whole department. So that means, that supervisor,
Mhm.
all the co-workers, everybody got to be recognized.
Mhm.
But if John or my previous supervisor, if she was there and she did this, she implemented things, guess what? She's up there with the commander or that SES, that executive or whatever, getting a reward. All right, shaking hands on the stage, getting the plaques, getting the bonuses, getting the things, getting high. And real quick, just to solidify what I'm saying. So one of my coworkers who worked in a different section in the region, 3 hours up north from where we are, he, like, this guy, anything he wanted, he got,
Mhm.
even more than the supervisor, than the acting supervisor.
Mhm. Wow.
So this gentleman, they named him, like, for example, one of the major things that we had training for, that we would train the employees, was fall protection, right?
Mhm.
This gentleman, they made him like the nationwide fall protection guru.
Hmm.
Yeah, and then he got to go speak at conferences. He got awards. He was getting bonuses and all this stuff. He was getting highlighted more than what the supervisor was. Is what I'm getting at
Hmm.
in
Hmm.
this whole thing. So a lot of this, like what you just saying, it's sad, but it's kind of just the same old thing. So again, when people say, oh, well, this person, he got that supervisor position because it was DEI or it was affirmative action. And it's like, well, no, actually it was worse, because that supervisor got a collar around his neck. And it's like, whole Caesar Milan or somebody, like, shh, pulling the leash, or shh, kicking them or whatever, like, don't bark. Don't you say nothing. And
Wow.
and then we had, okay, EEO.
Uh-huh.
EEO is another program that I seen
Mhm.
in the government
Likewise.
where they will have a black person running the EEO.
Mhm.
And again, you already know why. You should all, this is the easiest answer on the test. This is a gimme. Why is a black person in charge of EEO? Because if your supervisor, who is non-black, does something to you, it could be totally wrong. They go to EEO, and EEO's job is going to be to turn around and say, well, John just having a bad day, or
Hmm.
John likes everybody, to talk you out of it. And that department or that organization can turn around and say, well, we're not racist because look, you got so-and-so, she's the supervisor of EEO. And sure enough, EEO, they had Mrs. Angemama up there, cooking pancakes. That's all you got. If you had a complaint, she'd cook you some pancakes, tell you to go on back out there and take your whooping.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
She'd be like, come on now, come on now, come on in here, sit on down. Mama's gonna take care of you now. Now,
See,
Mr. Charlie loves you. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
See, no, you good. I've had a couple of different experiences, not anything too crazy, but things
Uh-huh.
that have made me be like, okay, like my antennas are up. Even like when I was in the military, simple as like my hair color,
Mm,
an issue, and it wasn't nothing crazy. It was like a light brown type situation. But
right.
this person, who was in leadership, she made a point to point it out to me that it was an issue. And
Right.
this person had blonde and black hair, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But um, she made a point, and then I'm like, okay, am I being targeted because it's an
Mm-hmm.
issue, my color, color of my skin and everything. But in that situation, I just went into, I'm like, okay, nobody immediately is going to help me. Let me go higher. And in that situation in the military, it was people who were black that were above her. Uh,
Okay.
and I'm like, okay, let me go to the chief or the superintendent that I know, because
Mm-hmm.
me providing good customer service in the IT. I'm like, okay, we cool. Let me holler at him and say, hey, sir, this is what's going on. This is
Mm-hmm.
how it's making me feel because I'm being targeted. And he squashed that situation like it was nothing, because he knew my character and the type of person I am, and just knowing that I was being targeted. But I've had other people, like in the civilian world, who would target because I'm a black female,
Mm-hmm.
and I was in a job position where I wasn't as familiar with it as I wanted to be, so I needed training on it. But
Mm-hmm.
the way they handled it was just crazy. It was like to them I was always complaining,
Mm-hmm.
and I just
Yep.
wasn't getting the help that I needed to be successful in the position. And I was bringing up stuff like, oh, this person didn't do this and but like that, and it was like, oh, it was always excuses being made for them. I'm like, okay, like, am I the only one bringing these things up, awareness to these things? Because I'm like, wait a minute now, because not that I'm trying to be the angry black woman, not at all, but in a sense, it was like, this is what needs to be done. This person needs to be called out for how they're treating people or how they're acting as a supervisor.
Right.
And it's been like that. Like, I've had to take notes. I know, they say write it down, take notes, keep track, document it. And that's what
Mm-hmm.
I've done throughout my career, starting in the military, because you never know what's going to happen or what this person is going to say, or try to turn against you. So you got to be careful out there nowadays.
Yep. And those are valid points. And that's kind of what I'm alluding to
Mm-hmm.
what you just said on that last part, is that what you experience is that um if there is a black person in position, you best believe if you try to go to him or her for help, they're gonna tap dance. They're gonna be like, oh no, I just don't see no problem. Uncle Remus, on the zip de doo day. It's good to be a slave today. That type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they gonna try to highlight, as you said, they're gonna try to highlight and try to make you crazy. Well, Lady G, old John over there, he comes to work, and he eats his barbecue brisket sandwich during lunch, and he smiles when we tell him to smile and things. So yeah, and that's why I say, with that hierarchy thing, because it plays into that old saying, as we said before, where you're the last hired, first fired. Because when you're the low on the totem pole, they look for any little thing, as you said, like with your hair, you being targeted, nothing wrong with your hair, and then the other person, their hair just as jacked up as yours, and then they trying to, oh yeah, well, your hair, or this, or
Mm-hmm.
done, when we tapped you on the shoulder, you turned around and looked at us, it was threatening, you
And
know.
see, it's funny because I have a friend who's in the federal world,
Mhm,
and he got the position. He's a supervisor over all the little work centers
mhm,
under him. So he manages a lot of people, and so I think he's the only black guy there in the organization, and he's in charge now.
mhm.
So he has people under him that are different races, of course, but what he's experienced is people um, saying things or trying to get him in trouble.
Yep.
And it's not even like he's Proud Army too, so he's straight to the point. Like, he tell you what needs to be done type situation.
Right.
But they're not used to this. The white women under him are like, oh my gosh, like, he's being intimidating or he's
Yep.
coming off a certain way. And then we had a conversation recently. He was getting his evaluation or his rating or whatever, and his boss was like, "Who's in the? I think she's in the military." And she was like, "Hey, just wonder why do you keep your door closed?" And you know how it is. Some people may have said like, "Oh, he's so closed off. He keeps his door shut." He's like, "No, I'm in training, so I'm doing training. So I like to
Mhm.
have it on the computer and it's loud, so I close my door. But people know to knock on my door if they need me. But it's
Right.
people below him that are working for him that are like, oh my god, like they're quick to like say something. They don't like how he gives them instructions or how he tells them to do something. They're like, oh my gosh, they're woe is me type situation. So it's it's crazy.
Yeah, and that's the whole point. You bring up another valid step in this is that if you are in that position, the little part-time job that I have now, something similar kind of happened, by me asking a question, about closing. So if the gym is closing, let's say, for example, it closes at 9 o'clock, right? And it's 8:30, 8:40. Now, me personally, I don't see a problem like just notifying the patrons in the gym, hey, we're gonna close in 20 minutes, things in that nature. Just giving them a soft reminder.
Right.
And just like you said with that guy, the supervisor of health and wellness was like, that was excessive. Telling them 20 minutes before is excessive. And I'm like, okay, so when are you supposed to tell them? Oh, you tell them 5 minutes. Well, what if that person feels like that, they lose track of time. They're in the middle of their workout and they're like, yeah, I got 3 more exercises to do. And it's 5 minutes. Then you're going to walk up and tell them. And the other thing is, our sister gym, it stays open later. It stays open like 2 or 3 hours later. So what if that person, a lot of people, they interchange. Sometimes they go to the sister gym. Sometimes they come to our gym. What if they thinking in their mind, this one closes at 11 or 12 at night. They forget that it closes at 9. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, just like your friend, I was like, what? She just gonna bust out in the meeting. Oh, that would be excessive. Excessive? Because you going around just letting people know, hey, we close.
You're giving them an just amount, amount of time to like, hey, like, make sure, okay, I got 20 minutes. Let me do at least 10 more of these exercises.
Right.
Whatever the case may be. So,
Right. So they can kind of adjust their workout to try to get done and walk out. So I definitely understand that. And, so my thing is, and my last question to you is, how do you, from the places that you work, how did you see or notice the leadership as far as who's at the top, who's, in the middle, who's at the bottom?
That's an interesting question.
Yeah. Like, did you know? And to the people out there, as you mentioned earlier, there are cases where, hey, there's a black CEO of a company or somebody makes it to upper management. I'm not saying that you can't advance. I'm just saying that's just the norm. If you look at it and say, what's the norm, or what is it that you're going to mostly see in my eyes, I'm going to say it's, that racial hierarchy that I named earlier, which is going to be, white man and woman at top, someone of Asian descent next in line, and then someone of Latino descent, and then, of course, someone that's black, African-American descent next, at the bottom. Go ahead.
Oh, for me, like I said, it's been mostly white men, probably few white women. But see, like the one job that I had where they laid me off, it was primarily white men in charge. The immediate supervisors. Then above them, we had people. Only reason why I knew who they were is because they came from out of town. So everybody's like, oh, they're important. They're in town to see, make sure we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. They were white as well. I don't even think if I met anyone that was black, it was maybe one person. But again, like it was mostly white. So you're like, okay, these people are our immediate supervisors. And then the people above them, okay, they're the big wigs in a sense. They're over this project, over this contract, and below them, okay, this is their deputy and so forth, and like that. So even for the other company that I work for, well, I'm not going to say the name, but it was mostly people that were training me were white as well. You know,
Hmm.
I don't, I don't remember any. Well, I remember one person who was black, but I don't think she was in charge of anything.
Hmm.
She was just one of the employees there. But again, it was rare. Supervisor left. I think I was the only one in Texas for that area. Only black person there. And again, like it is what it is. Even with that, briefly with that situation, you have to be careful. We can talk about this in another episode, but things the conversations that go on at work, and they say it's not supposed to be political, not supposed to be religious, in a
Hmm.
sense. But yeah, you got to be careful what you say around people,
Hmm.
because that triggers other things and can be seen as racist too. So yeah.
Exactly. So, yep. So, well, anything else on this topic that you want to share?
No, I think we're good for this episode. But yeah, this is very interesting, eye-opening topic and things that I've been through. So I hope this helps someone who may be going through the same thing or experiencing racial injustice or anything with the hierarchy in their job. So yeah.
Definitely. And it couldn't be said more. And for everybody out there, please like, share, subscribe. And most importantly, like Lady G said, if you have experienced something like this or noticed something like this, feel free to drop them comments below. Or if you just like the podcast, let us know about it so we can bring you more content, and hopefully this helps you and guide you through any type of toxic behavior that you're seeing in the workplace. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode. Peace. Thanks for watching. And also, if you are having trouble or are currently working in a toxic workplace, then look no further than my book. It's available on Amazon, called Shut Up and Work: Surviving Then Escaping the Workplace. Other than that, have a great day. Take care. Peace.